My name is Leticia Vargas, and I am actually a UIW alumni. The mic isn't working. Does it work better now? A little bit better? Okay. Okay. Can you hear me up here? Now better? Okay. More better, right? No. So I was the last class of Incarnate Word College in May of 1995. So these hallways that you walk here, I walked them to 30 something years ago. So it's been an incredible honor to be here, to be your moderator. This is the second of 6 sessions for our UIW Hispanic Heritage Symposium. I'd like to thank, obviously, the president of UIW, Dr. Evans, our provost, the Sisters of the Incarnate Word, the committee of UIW Hispanic Heritage Symposium, Dr. Rafael Hoyle, for allowing me the ability to be able to be here to moderate the session for you. So being with the Incarnate Word for the last 30 years or so, I will tell you that it's been a blessing. And we share something that's very common that unites everybody. And one of the things that we talk about is we talk about legacy, we talk about stewardship, we talk about mentorship and formation. So when we talk about the Sisters of the Incarnate Word and UIW, it's all about education and healthcare, right? Those are the two things that you can think about. And one common thing that unites all of us is that in some way, somehow, we've been exposed to being first generation of something, either first generation born in the US, first generation going to college, first generation going into to higher ed. So we all hold that in unity together. And so despite our differences and everything else, we do always have a commonality. And because of that, our first topic today, or our whole topic today, is about community service. So as you well know, and as you heard earlier, the Sisters of the Incarnate Word came because they answered a call, and a call to help those that were less needy. And they continue to infiltrate that with us. And earlier today, I asked, does Golden Harvest still happen? Do y'all know what Golden Harvest is? So Golden Harvest was a student-run thing that happened every fall where we were put in the back of army trucks, and we were put all over San Antonio going door to door asking for food for the food bank, right? And so all the food that we collected, we would throw in the back of the army trucks, and then we give it to San Antonio Food Bank. How better to know that something that existed back in 1990 continues to happen now with SGA. So that's the kind of loving and giving that we teach here. And because of that, we talk about this legacy that we have. Our first presenter, Dr. Roberto Fajardo, continues that sense of legacy. In 1993, his father started a medical mission trip to help the needy of children of Colombia. And with that, he's continued that legacy. And as UIW family, we continue a legacy where we continue to help our children and continue to provide for them so they can have a better life. So Dr. Roberto Fajardo, some fun facts about him is that he is a full professor at the Department of Applied Biomedical Sciences at the University of Incarnate Word School of Osteopathic Medicine. He teaches anatomy and skeletal biology at the SOM and runs pro bono healthcare programs, one of which he will talk to us about today. So he often gets confused in town with either being Stanley Tucci or even sometimes Manu Ginobili until he stands up. And then he no longer becomes Manu. So he's a shorter, better looking family member of Manu Ginobili. So with this, I'd like to welcome Dr. Fajardo up to the stage. And while he's coming up here, not only does UIW community act globally, we act locally as well. And we start off by, as I mentioned, the Golden Harvest. Dr. Fajardo does some wonderful work in the South Side San Antonio, South Side Independent School District, providing food for families, providing healthcare for them, and having student experiences going out and being able to do research. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Fajardo to the stage here.
Okay, so let me make sure that I'm projecting my voice well so everybody can hear me. We're good? Perfect. So good afternoon, and I'd like to thank everyone for the invitation to speak today about the medical mission work I do in Colombia, and really end it with how it's brought me closer to my Colombian heritage, as well as has transformed my life in a very, very large way. So this is a picture of the Perdomo family. In spite of what it says there, 1939 to 1940, the actual timeline for this photograph, I learned yesterday from my mother, is mid-1930s. And it's in Neiva, Colombia, a small state capital, about 4.5 hours drive south of Bogota. And my mother sent me this photo about a year ago. And in looking at it, it really made me wonder if my life was somehow fated, because all the elements of the story I'm about to tell you, which is my story, are in this picture. So I'll come back to that part of the story in a moment. Let me just say who's in the picture. First of all, this is Elisa. That is my abuelita, my maternal grandmother. My mother was not born at this time. She wouldn't be born for another 7 years. And my father would be born about 2 to 3 years later, hundreds of miles away in Bogota. This is Emma. Emma is the prima of my abuelita, and she would later, years later, give birth to a gentleman named Ramiro Gutierrez, who would go on and be an important part of this story of healing the children in the little town of Neiva. And then there's this little guy here. We're talking about white privilege. This little Rubio right here, Hernando Moncaliano. Decades later, Hernando Moncaliano would go on to become a very famous physician in the region. And that too plays a part in my story. I am currently the logistical director of the Healing the Children medical mission to Neiva. And the first mission was brought to Neiva in 1993. And here's a picture of that first mission. And this little guy right here in the background is my father. And the story of its origin is nothing short of amazing. In 1992, my father was traveling between Colombia and the United States. He was about to board a plane in Bogota. And at the gate, a little boy approached him, a little boy with severe congenital malformations of the face. This little boy, Juanito, tried to play with my father, and he would pantomime at my father to get his attention. Juanito could not speak due to the severe malformations of the face. And my father did everything he could to try to remove himself from Juanito, because my father knew something very clear about himself. A lifelong civil engineer, had nothing to do with medicine in his life. He abhorred the sight of blood and deformity because it made him very, very weak, and he would tend to pass out. And so he felt bad about this, but he was trying to avoid Juanito. Well, they called for boarding of the plane. My father gets on the plane, and Juanito has the seat right next to my father. But my father realizes that Juanito has come on board with a set of chaperones traveling with him to the United States from Healing the Children. My father spends the entire flight talking to the chaperones and trying to find out what they're doing and what they're doing for this child. After that fateful meeting, my father spends the next 10 to 12 months planning the first medical mission trip to Neiva, Colombia, with his best friend, Ramiro Gutierrez, the daughter of Emma, who I pointed out in the earlier picture. And that first trip was made there in 1993. I'm sorry, I pressed the button. Healing the Children is a comprehensive medical mission that provides 3 types of surgeries for children with limited resources. For those kids born with cleft palate and cleft lip, we provide oral surgery to help correct those conditions. For those children born with congenital malformations of the ear or have experienced a burn and then a scar contracture later, we offer plastic surgery. And for those children born with either club foot or congenital hip dislocations, we offer orthopedic surgery. But our services go well beyond the surgical. This is a comprehensive system or program. Here on the left, the picture is of our speech therapy team that works with the children of cleft palates in particular and cleft lips to help them learn to speak in more normal patterns than what they may have grown up speaking with use of the cartilages in the throat. We also offer complete year-round dental and orthodontic services for these children because they often have some problems with the growth of the palate, and this then leads to growth problems for the teeth. For the parents of children who enter our surgical procedures, especially the cleft palate, we offer half a day training on how to feed the patients in the first few post-operative weeks, because there are certain precautions that must be taken to ensure that the sutures are not ruptured, as well as there's no development of bacteria that can then affect the healing. And then lastly, a project that I'm particularly proud of from the last year that we started it. All of these children are born with congenital malformations, and I've described what type of ones they are. They lack confidence, they're isolated by society, and they're bullied in school from the moment they start school. They need better help than just what we can offer medically. We offer them now mental health sessions in a year-round sense, collaborating with local universities and giving those students practicums. In any one year, our medical mission includes 80 to 100 volunteers coming from the United States and different countries around the world, including somewhere between 30 and 50 collaborators from NAVA, all part of the medical field. During our most recent trip in 2024, a 5-day trip where it's 1 day of evaluations of patients and then 4 days of surgeries, here's what we completed as a team. Over 575 patients were evaluated for our surgical program by about 2 or 3 p.m. the same day. In 4 days of surgery, our team completed 126 medical procedures. 5 people in the speech therapy team completed 125 hours of speech therapy during those 5 days. There were 76 behavioral therapy evaluations, and 1 person for 5 days created 29 orthopedic orthoses that were then handed out to these children as part of the program. And the work never stops. We don't want it to stop because these kids need us at all times. Since we came back from the Colombia then in June, every surgical patient has received 2 surgical post-operative visits with local partners we have in NAVA to make sure they're doing well. And our mental health team has added another 100 hours of mental health sessions for the children and the parents in our pilot mental health program. We have 2 major events that we do throughout the year. A program like this requires a lot of helping hands, and it requires a lot of money to be raised. We have 2 major events. First is the Christmas toy drive for a wonderful program locally called Child Safe. And then we have a charity golf tournament that we host every April. I do take students to Colombia, but everybody wants to go. And so I need to have some sort of criteria for who can go. And how they show that they're really interested is by being long-term commitments to our fundraisers and our events and taking on leadership roles for our golf tournament. And here are a few pictures from our toy drive. We work with Amazon.com to create wish lists, and people can buy those toys online and then have them delivered to us. Or if they're more comfortable, they can go shop for their own toys and then bring them to us on the UIW SOM campus. And we've had here some really wonderful pictures of those great days when we get to deliver the toys. It's a lot of fun, even though these are children who have been neglected or abused. We don't get direct contact, but the joy is in the giving, not necessarily in having to be with the kids. And since 2020, when we started this program, we have donated over $23,000 worth of toys to Child Safe. Our golf tournament is called Clubs and Scrubs for Kids. We host it every 3rd Saturday of May. We like to battle of the flowers. And it was started by the 2 people in this picture. Sorry, it's a little dark. Then medical student Aurora Carre, and then oral surgery resident Nicole Hernandez about 9 years ago. And since that time, multiple medical students and residents have worked with us in organizing this event in different capacities, like shown in these 2 pictures. And since then, our tournament size by the number of players, as well as the amount of money we've been able to fundraise, has increased pretty much every year, to the point where the last 2 years we've raised $40,000 net. And since we started this about 9 to 10 years ago, we've raised over $250,000 for our Columbia program. This is Alex Golden. I took him to Columbia last year. He's now a first-year resident in obstetrics and gynecology in Massachusetts. What he's going to do, if you could start the video, he's going to tell us a little bit about his experience with learning the culture and people in Columbia. We could just start the video. That picture is the video.
The Columbia trip taught me a lot about the culture in general. At Rutgers University, I was a Spanish major, so I had a lot of interest from the beginning of my career in the Spanish language and Hispanic culture in general. So it was really nice to learn the colloquial Spanish that's spoken in Colombia, as well as in Neiva in particular. And it also showed me a lot about, in real time, the connection and the unity and the power of family and community. It's very clear that the people in Neiva have been there for generations, and they are well supported by one another. And
so he told us a little bit about his experience in being introduced to the culture and to the people. He also talked about, shared with me, the lasting impact on his medical training. And really it came down to 2 points. And rather than read that, I'll summarize. Teamwork, the ability to work in large teams. This is an interprofessional setting, and you need to be able to support each other, as well as the need to be agile. Things will change in a heartbeat, and you need to be able to create a professional environment where everybody can work together to find solutions, even though those solutions aren't exactly what you had planned for. So I've spent the first 2/3 of this talk telling you about the medical mission, what it does, who it serves, and how students are involved. So here comes the Hispanic identity part. And I've never, ever given a talk like this before. I don't talk about how it impacts me. So I'm going to try to get through this. I started working on this medical mission in about 2005. And in 2005, I had 2 little girls waiting on the third to be coming along. And I had never volunteered for anything before in my entire life. I really just kind of took care of my family and did my work and just moved on in life. And I decided to go on this mission because my father had founded it. And I figured it was a way to share something with him and maybe create a deeper bond. At the same time, if I'm to be honest, and to be a rascally little youngest son, I also went because I needed him to shut up. He spoke about it way too much. And I figured if I went with him, we'd have shared the experience, and now we could talk about something else when he came to visit me in the United States. So I went, and I thought this was going to be a one and off. I experienced something, shared something with my father, and I'm done, because I really didn't know this type of life before. But in 2007, the medical director called me and invited me, in fact, requested that I become the logistical director, the role that I have now. I thought about it, and I wasn't sure if I could do it, wasn't sure if I wanted to do it, but as clearly I'm up here talking, I said yes. And really everything changed from that point forward. And the rewards I could have never imagined. Since I started almost 20 years ago, 3,000 children have passed through our program. Mine is not the role to give them the healthcare that they need. My role is to make sure that the people with that training never have to stop working. I make sure everything is taken care of before they get there. While they're there, I put out all fires. But I'm proud to say that 3,000 kids have passed through the program while I've been the one making sure that that can happen and that they can do what God gave them the talents to do. And if that was the end, that would be amazing. But I have seen so much more. I've seen I've seen children who were initially our patients come back to volunteer because they were so moved by the experience, and it changed their lives in such radical ways that they wanted to pay it forward to somebody else. I've been fortunate enough to be there when that kid with a cleft palate who's had a surgical correction speaks for the first time in a more normal pattern in front of a group of people. and observed the confidence and the radiating sense of newfound self in speaking like they've always wanted to, but have never been able to. And I've experienced what a team of people can do when they have one goal and they work with one heart. And on a personal level, it allowed me to get closer to my father. We went from being just father and son to being two people who were blood related and already had an important relationship, but we had now had a shared purpose. And that was a different level of bonding. And it wasn't always rainbows and unicorns. We fought quite a bit. But what we fought about was no longer the stupidities of daily life that sometimes fathers and sons fight about. What we fought about was how to deliver better service to children who needed it. And that was just different. And then there were the other gifts that this project has given me. And that is, boy, this is gonna be a tough one. And that is the relationship that it gave my daughters with my father. Each one of my daughters has worked on the mission. Each one has raised money independently in the thousands of dollars for the medical mission. And they worked with him, and they now shared a purpose with him, which is, again, something totally different. And they saw something that he built and they wanted to be a part of. And all of that helped to bridge the distance and the time that they were losing, because my father lived in Colombia and my daughters lived here with us in San Antonio. And that's time that you never get back, but you have a different set of purpose and different set of sharing principles. And it inspired me and it helped me find my true identity, or become comfortable with the identity that I have. Whichever one is true, I really don't know. And I don't think it matters anymore to me. I have the good fortune of being 53 years old, gone through a lot, and had this experience transform me. And I'm the only member of my family tree born outside of Colombia. That is not my doing. That is just what my parents decided. And it has put me in a space between two cultures growing up that I never really fit into either one. Growing up, since kindergarten, I've been asked, do I have cocaine? Do I have marijuana? Do I know Pablo Escobar? And why would I ever travel to a country that was so violent? On the opposite side, my very English accented Spanish never helped me when I went home. And very lovingly, my cousins would call me either cowboy, Walker Texas Ranger, or if they really wanted to dispense with time and be efficient, they would just call me gringo. And again, it was very loving. And by the same token, when I was speaking to a native-born Colombian and they would ask me my identity and I would say Colombian, the very next question always, where were you born? And then I would say San Antonio, Texas. And invariably, since I can remember, the next sound I would hear is, oh, which leaves you in a very distinct space, trapped between two cultures, never really feeling like you fit in either one. Well, over time, that work in Colombia has really kind of transformed me and helped me understand I am what I am, regardless of the way I sound, regardless of the way I talk, I look, and so forth. And it has given me the confidence to say, I am Colombian. I have dual citizenship. And to quite frankly, I do more than the average person for the country of Colombia, and I'd be happy to put that record up against anybody. And so that inspired me to come back to my community and say, how can I serve my Colombian community better, regardless of the way they look at me? And I became the president of the local nonprofit Asociación Amigos de Colombia, which promotes Colombian culture, promotes education, and promotes community service. And we've done lots of things, but the thing I'm proudest about, when I ended my term recently, we gave away the largest amount of scholarship money that organization has ever given out in its 20 years. In addition, I don't stop there. Again, this has inspired me. I created, along with colleagues at the School of Physical Therapy and a private practice for orthopedic surgery, a free clinic for hip and knee people on the south side of San Antonio suffering from hip and knee arthritis. And 3 years ago, in an effort to better serve the people of the South Side, not just poke and prod them, but get to know them so I can serve them better, I joined the Southside Independent School District in the food bank in a simple thing. I didn't do much. They had already set everything up. I just made sure I was there every third Saturday of the month to help them distribute food to people with food scarcity, because then I got to know them. And if I built that trust, then they would trust me and trust us to take better care of them. And so we come back to this, my story. And my story was always written here. I really often feel like it was fated. As I told you before, my mom wasn't born for another 7 years, and my father was born hundreds of miles away 2 years later. Emma gave birth to his best friend 65 years later, who together they created Healing the Children, something that I work on now and inherited. And this little boy right here went on to be a famous physician. The hospital that Healing the Children works in is named after Hernando Moncaliano Perdomo, the little boy, the little blonde boy right there. And that same hospital now has a wing named after my father. So when I look at this picture, I often think that my journey was written well before I was ever born. Thank you.
Dr. Fajardo. So what an amazing story, right? An amazing story of not only going back to your culture, going back to your people, but of legacy and how we continue to give, and not only just locally, but then globally as well. We continue this trend or this theme with our next speaker. Our next speaker is local, obviously from here, from San Antonio. Originally from Houston, Texas, but got to San Antonio as fast as he could. He came in as undergrad, just like I did, and he swam for UIW. He continues to be part of UIW and UIW family, and he continues this trend to continue the legacy and now offer stewardship, because you in your position right now, we're all stewards. We're all been given a gift that we need to improve other people's lives. That is why you got chosen to come to the University of Incarnate Word, because we continue this legacy of the sisters. We continue this legacy of education and health. And by the way, there's a huge health shortage. So please, if y'all need to come, we need more doctors. Plug in for the medical school because I'm an OBGYN. And so we definitely need you there. We need you in the health professional schools. But for our next presenter, we're talking about stewardship. So we help the children. We help them with their mental health. We help them with their behavioral wanting to fit in, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about a sense of security and belonging. We all want to belong to something. And by being able to provide these services for these children, we allow that to happen. But we need to move on through the compendium. We have to move on through legacy. And then we have our school-age children, our pre-high school kids and so forth. And our next speaker is going to talk about that. How do we encourage students? How do we get them to believe in themselves, to come in and go into STEM programs and so forth? So our next speaker is Mr. Teofilo Reyes Jr. He is the Assistant Director of Leadership and Global Engagement at the University of the Incarnate Word. He's a dedicated advocate for civic leadership development in higher education, with a background in organizational development and leadership. He's a PhD candidate in the education school, specializing in adult education, social innovation, and entrepreneurship, and a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. Dale directs his varied experiences toward fostering civic engagement at the Etling Center for Civic Leadership. Dale leads interdisciplinary service trips ranging from medical missions in San Juan, Texas, to social entrepreneurship in Curitiba, Brazil. Dale fosters collaborative civic leadership across cultural boundaries and academic disciplines. Dale's focus is creating transformative educational experiences that sustain. His commitment to community connection and nurturing future leaders is a foundation to his continued efforts in connecting and developing student leaders. Join Teofilo Reyes Jr. in empowering individuals and creating lasting community change.
Oh, can you hear me? Yes? No? Good? All right. So Dr. Leticia Vargas made me sound much better than I feel normally. She had a very nice introduction to that. I gave her a nice little paragraph, but she beautified that. So thank you for making me feel pretty good. All right. So let's go ahead and see if we are awake. Okay. Because I think a lot of times we look at a symposium and sometimes we automatically interpret a certain tone. So I'm going to give you a nice little direction. I just want you to respond back. Okay. So everybody show me your two hands. Two hands. All right. So we got them. Let's go ahead and we're going to clap once. Ready? Go. All right. We're going to clap twice. Ready? Go. They're going to go ahead and clap twice and go, ha ha. Ready? You feel nervous, huh? And 1, 2, 3, go. Did you believe yourself when you did that? No. Let's try it again. One more time. Ready? We're going to clap twice and do what? Ah, that's what it sounded like. Believe it. Actually believe what you're doing. Ready? And go. Better, right? All right, I'll leave you there. So I'll explain why we do that. And some of y'all felt nervous for each other. Some of you felt nervous for the person in the back. But I'm here to let you know you can relax. Okay? We don't have to be here all cooped up. You can be here and just be yourself. We have a lot of doctors in here. We have people that are freshmen in here. But at the end of the day, these doctors were once freshmen, and you freshmen are going to one day be doctors. Do y'all agree? Okay, believe what you're saying. Do you agree? Yes. All right. So Dr. Leticia Vargas said we work on confidence building, right? Sometimes you don't get that in the classroom, do you? Did you talk about self-esteem in the classroom? No, no. Yes, you do? Good. You talk about confidence in the classroom? Yes, no, maybe so. Do you? Have you talked about confidence and self-esteem in your classroom? Yeah, when you were little? What's your major right now? Psychology. So at some point, that's going to definitely come up, right? Okay. So my name is Theo Flores. I work in the LA Center for Civic Leadership Sustainability. What we have, you can take a seat, no worries. What we have here, what we're going to talk about is a collaboration that we have with a nonprofit organization called Arise Adelante. Arise Adelante is a nonprofit in the border town of McAllen, and they work with a lot of individuals who are coming to the United States with refugee status, seeking asylum, but they do more than just that, because we know that the journey to get to the US, for some of us who have a family background from Central America, Mexico, Haiti, Caribbean, at some point in time living in South Texas, you may have heard about going to the US to that story. Has anybody heard about the immigration stories on the news? Obviously, it's a hot topic right now, right? Because of what? What was that? The elections, right? Which today is what? The final day to register to vote. How many of you registered to vote? How many of you have not registered to vote? Aha! We have a registration table in the SEC. So today, I highly suggest you get there, drop and get some fun, get some coffee, go straight over there. Okay? Nice little plug, right? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to tell you we have two big events that we do with Arise. So we go in the winter and we go in the summer. The winter is a medical mission focus where we go for a couple days. We take osteopathic students, we take optometry students, we take nursing students. It varies from year to year, but overall, we take a team down to McAllen, down to Alamo, Texas, down to San Juan, Texas, and we provide pre-prescription glasses, we provide triage, those kinds of things. All right. But what I'm going to discuss today is going to be about the Arise summer trip. Arise Summer has a different focus. So it's going to be 5 days that we're going to go over and about what the students experience when we go. That make sense? Yeah? Okay. Before I get to there, does anybody know the 5 tenets of UIW or 5 core mission values? You give me one. What's that? Faith. Yep. Can you give me another one? Man, that's crazy. I heard another voice. Innovation. There's 3 more. Anybody else? Truth. 2 more. I'll stay here for as long as possible. I'll use all 15 minutes just waiting. Service and 1 more. You all go here for it. Education, there you go. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and talk about these values and how necessarily we see it through the course of these trips. Cool? Yes, no? Maybe so? All right, here we go. First slide. So faith, okay, so we get about 10 students from undergrad, master's, doctoral students, and we'll take them down. We'll all park right in front of the Diane Bennett Music Hall, and then we'll drive down in a single van, all right? Once we get down there, the mission begins, okay? We stay at the San Juan Basilica del Valle. Has anybody ever heard of San Juan Basilica del Valle? What do you know about it, ma'am? It's a holy place, pretty big, right? Okay, so over there they have constant services from about 6 a.m. to about 6 p.m. and it fills up by not just hundreds, but also to the thousands. Okay, so we take students there, and even though you may not be of the Catholic faith, it's very interesting to see because we're staying on this compound with this very large church, which is very dear and important to the people of San Juan. People travel from all over to just go to one service. People drive 2 hours to just go to one service. In that service, we have students come from Nigeria, from Europe, from different parts of Latin America, and they go ahead and they're witnessing the culture of how they do a faith-based service in San Juan. And so at 10:30 a.m., we get a chance to go to a service that also has mariachi as the music. All right. Has anybody here been to a service that has mariachi as the music? Yeah, very different, right? You too? Memorable, right? Do you sing? No? You can try it right now if you want. Okay. All right. So, but after that, on the next day, what we go to is the Catholic Charities Humanitarian Respite Center. And the reason I put faith there is because a lot of our students think we're going to talk about faith because we're just going to the service. But at this Humanitarian Respite Center is where we go for, there's individuals that get here and they're seeking asylum, all right? So they're applying to say, hey, can they stay in the US for various different reasons? Sometimes they're coming from a communist country. Sometimes they're coming from a very dangerous country. Like my cultural background is from El Salvador y Honduras, all right? And so if you know anything about Salvador and Honduras, they've both been dubbed at some point in the last decade the murder capitals of the world, all right? So you have people from El Salvador they'll come in waves, right? Depending on geopolitically what's happening, sometimes you'll see different people come from different backgrounds. Well, while we're there, the students will go ahead and they will volunteer. They'll be able to imagine a room that people from all different backgrounds by the thousand in one area, just trying to see if they can be approved to be in the US. So the students go ahead and make sandwiches, make meals for them. They interact with the children. While they're doing that, you can see the parents. And the parents are there watching our students interact with their kids. Now, mind you, our students just think they're volunteering, checking the box, let me get 4 hours of volunteer service so I can graduate. But then they realize, they start to hear the stories. They start to hear the stories of the parents who are just getting 10 minutes of bliss watching their kid color on a table with a college student. Not knowing that they came from the bottom of Mexico. Has anybody heard of La Bestia? You know what La Bestia is? Can you say what La Bestia is? Mhm. Thank you. So did y'all hear in the back? So it's a train coming down from the bottom of Central America from people from different countries. They come up to make their way all the way up to the border. And when they come up here, it's not just all Mexicans, all Guatemalans, all Hondurans, all Salvadorans. There's people from everywhere. But that train trip is not like an Amtrak from San Antonio to Austin. That trip is one of the most notorious trips to take with a lot of risk. And in that risk comes, and I'm gonna tell you the truth because we're at a college setting and this is a place for critical thinking and for truth, right? In that train, a lot of times they'll come up and their parents will send their kids at 16 years old, 12 years old, sometimes 8 years old, sometimes 5 years old. And a lot of times they will send them with already with a vaccine or something that will say to not get pregnant because they know they will send their kids up and there's a good chance that there's going to be violence. There's going to be a chance of being raped. There's a chance of being kidnapped. There's a chance of all kinds of risks. So our students going there to volunteer They're seeing and hearing the testimonies of these parents who are undergoing stress and undergoing the unknown, and just seeing their students, our students, interact with their kids just of color. They're hearing the faith of coming from one place to the unknown, hoping for a better life. And our students see what faith looks like, not just from going to church, but believing that the next step that they're taking is the right one, not just for them, not just for their immediate family, but their family's future. Education. So as you see here, you see our students, and then I won't put her name out, but our students, when we go out there, we usually do two sections. We have one portion of the trip that they are doing a STEM-based program, summer camp, catapult, like spaghetti noodle castles and stuff like that. And then the other part's an adult immersion trip. So in the middle of the day, they're going to always do something different, like the Catholic Respite Center, or the Catholic Charities Respite Center, and so forth. But in the between 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., that's when they're outside in July in Texas at a border town outside, okay? From beginning to evening. And they are going to different places in Las Colonias. Las Colonias is a territory where many individuals that have documentation and don't have documentation, they settle there. So they get to see the conditions of the people that we're living in, because we're submersed in them and we're immersed in there. And they get to see like, as we're going to the place, you know, they're looking around in the van, they'll start to see houses turn to change, very, very, very wealthy houses to drop-offs, right? Because there's not deed restricted communities and so forth. But they also see there's no street lights on this street. There's no sewage system on the street. So they'll start to see the conditions of the people that we're helping on a day-to-day. But one thing, our students go there and they believe that they're going to be teaching the kids something, realizing that the kids, if this girl is at 6 years old, she's teaching them a 10-minute choreography. And as you can see, she has no problem teaching them. And she was doing this over and over again. Now, our students, before we even start any exercises, we work on public speaking. We work on how to work with a population that you don't know the language. And you have just like right now, I had you clap twice and do what? Ha ha, right? Our students go in there 1 week crash course, immediately start teaching a curriculum to people with a foreign language. How do you do that if you don't have the confidence in yourself? And how do you feel like you're going to be there for a whole week and scared to speak? Does that make sense? So you can't be nervous. I mean, you may be, but how do you channel that nerves to be able to, at the end of the day, we're here to help somebody else, right? So right now, our students, that weird, nervous feeling that you get, imagine going ahead and getting in front of a crowd. And kids are honest, are they not? They'll tell you if this is boring. They'll tell you if they don't like it. They'll tell you if you smell funny, you got something in your teeth. They have no problem telling you. And then if they're doing it in another language and they're giggling at you, a lot of our students, they get a little bit nervous, right? But they go ahead and overcome that. Okay. So from the education piece, we start learning about how the individuals in that area start to work. Okay. Innovation. Now, who knows what this is defined as, innovation? Who can give it a shot? What does innovation mean, especially since it's a core value of UIW? You went in here. There you go, ma'am. One more time. Making use of what you have around you. All right, thank you. Yeah, so innovate's creating something new, a new method, something that hasn't been seen before. All right, but does a new method have to be in the world, or can it be just what you're exposed to? Can something be innovative to me and y'all may have discovered it 10 years ago? Does that take away the innovation for the area? No, right? So here, our students are showing them different crafts. However, they get to see, when we go get these students, we have to go to the houses, right? Like I said, we're going to Las Colonias. As we're going there, they'll see, when was the last time you knocked on a neighbor's house? Any of you? It's been a while? It's been a while? How many of you would say you know the neighbor 4 houses down from your house? 1, 2. What about 6 houses down? Too far, right? So our students, we have to go recruit the kids from the street to come to the group. And what they see is these individuals, these women from Arise Adelante, are women who were once immigrants themselves and are now leaders in their community. And they go into the van, depending on the house, step out of the van, have a megaphone and tell everybody, buenos días, es tiempo para clase, todos vengan para afuera. And then our students have never seen someone by megaphone go down the street and get the kids to come out their house to come play. Has anybody done that for you? No. For our students, that was innovation. To come outside, don't have to, they say just put it on Instagram, tag people and see who comes. No, they went outside, used the megaphone, come out. For our students, that is a different way of recruiting, but that is their way of doing something. Our students have to see how those kids who had sometimes come with no shoes running on the concrete from down the street in July, and they come there and they see what they have as shoes. They see the innovation of that family, they see the innovation of that culture as something different that they didn't expect to see. Does that make sense? Next one. One of the biggest things that we get to do is we get to eat with the family of in the local area. So instead of saying like just, hey, where we're going to go eat tonight or we're going to go to Chili's or we're going to go to wherever, we eat with the local family and they introduce us and get us in their home. And it's not something like it has to be a super wealthy home or has to be incredibly dilapidated, just someone who has the willingness to open their home to us, foreigners, strangers to the area. And every time we go there, we eat with the local family, and our kids usually they anticipate another event to be transformative. This is usually the most transformative piece. One of the best ways, my mother, we didn't grow up with much money, but her way to show you love was through food, was through the way to your heart was through the stomach. And the biggest part about that is when they see, have any of y'all had mole before? Yeah, you like it? Has anybody, if you go eat at someone's home, what does that mean to you the first time you ever eat at someone's home? What was that? They accept you? What else? I heard some other thing. Like, do you ever just invite people that you don't like to your house? Is it a vulnerable thing? It's a vulnerable thing to allow anyone into your home. Some of us blur our background on Zoom because we don't want people to see our stuff. But to open it and then to cook for people, 9, 10 different people you don't know. Our students get to hear the testimony of the individual. What made them come here? How many kids do they have? Why did you decide to open your home? And a lot of them say, just the fact that you're willing to come here and spend time with us, we thank you. Many of the people don't think about us. And the fact that you traveled all the way from San Antonio to come to us, to hear our story, we thank you and we're grateful for you. And they're serving us in their home. Aren't we there for 25 volunteer service hours? Yes. But they realize what service looks like in their neighborhood. They know the people 6 houses down. They know the people 3 blocks away. If you're sick or your family's sick and I hear about it, we come to your house and take you food to make sure you're okay. That make sense? And here's truth. One of the days after eating with the local family, going to the asylum center, going to the Posada Providence, what happens after they get approved? We also go ahead and heard all these testimonies, and one of the biggest catalyst events about whether they make it or they don't make it is the border. So we take them to the border on Thursday. They go to the border wall. Some of us only seen it on the news. Some of us only see it through whatever political side you're on. There's a wall, there's no wall, there's a river or whatever it is. So we take it to them. So our students get to go there. There's border patrol, there's local police, there's state troopers, and they get to see. They get to see what is so significant about this catalyst event, about making it to this side. Some of them heard it's just nothing but criminals. Some of them heard it is individuals taking advantage of our system. But then they get there and they realize some of the people they were just talking to and they've been with for a week made it through that barrier. And they've been serving us in their home. They've been giving us food. They've been giving us love that some of our students don't normally get, hugs. And they get to the wall and they see shoelaces on the ground. They see broken ladders. They hear about that little kid who was teaching them earlier, also at that age, kids wandering alone on the other side. And you have to ask yourself, why would they do that? Why would they allow someone at 6 years old to be at the border wall by themselves? Well, now, after a week of hearing testimonies, they realize this isn't just a political agenda that I'm hearing for 10 seconds on the news or on through my social media. These are real people. These are real people that loved before they got here and they loved after they got here. These are people with compassion, intelligence, people that were once engineers in another country and they came over here and now they're working as a hotel staff. Individuals that were once very successful in their place, but now looked as just a generalization. And they realize in that moment, they just stand there for probably about 20 minutes in July and see how hot it is. And it comes together. There's a little bit more truth to that. And these individuals get to show us that every week. So I tell you, why do I say faith, innovation, education, truth, service? Because a lot of times we have this ivory tower approach that we're going to different areas, we're going to go save them, we're going to do all that, not realizing there was a lot to learn from them, teaching us about what it means to be in community, teaching us what it means to love without anything monetary attached to it. And I ask you is, for yourself and what you're doing, you're in this journey. Some of you are first generation. Some of you are being the first individuals to get your degree. Some of you are the first to do something. And mind you, there was probably a first before you. And there's probably someone in your family that crossed some border of some sort, maybe in Peru, maybe in somewhere else. But you are the catalyst for that. But how are you instilling these values, or how are you engaging with other people to learn these values from something else? It's not just about us doing the 45 hours of community service. It's about you willing to put yourself in other communities and be a global citizen and a civic leader that you are. So I ask you, where are you learning faith, education, innovation, service, truth? Ask yourself, is it just in the classroom? Is it just to get the grade? Is it just the transcript? Are you getting to meet real people? Are you actually feeling and believing that you are that change? Because you are. Mic drop. I'm done. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. That was pretty amazing, isn't it? That speech about kind of believing in yourself and going out there, being able to use this. But when you come out of some place and you're moving into somewhere else, it becomes very difficult to make that transition. And being a good steward is what it's all about. Now, the next presenter is myself, so it's pretty hard to, talk about yourself to other people and explain yourself. But I actually grew up in south of San Antonio in Von Army, Texas, and I was a first generation. My mother was from Mexico. She went to school for 5 years because in order for you to go into any higher education, you had to leave the city. And you had to leave, and she was like half a day on a horse in the mountains. That's where she grew up. So 5 years. And the missionaries that went to that area actually helped her to come out and come to the US for a better life because the situation was so bad. So when we talk about this migration, this immigration that's coming through, this migration, people sometimes don't choose to leave their homes. They just don't have any other choice because they can't survive, either it being violence, either it being starvation, or it actually being climate change that's causing all these tsunamis, these hurricanes and so forth that are destroying their ability to be able to provide for themselves and their families. And by coming here to Incarnate Word, it was very different because, I grew up on the south side of town. We did not grow up very wealthy. And so coming to Alamo Heights was a big change, right? And so it's great to feel like, oh my goodness, this is so great. But at the same time, there's a lot of like imposter syndrome going on, right? As like, do I even belong there? And, one of the students mentioned she was a psychology major. I was too. And guess what? The sisters got a hold of me. And the sister, Sister Margaret Patrice Slattery, who recently passed away, may she rest in peace, told me, oh, no, you don't want to be psychology. You don't want to be psychology. You want to be a doctor. You're going to go to medical school. But for me, that was never a possibility. I'm first generation. We're from the country. We're country folk. My family did planting and farming and so forth and construction work. What is this about me going and becoming a doctor, right? And so having that education, having that experience here, where more people see you as being that person, you're able to get that confidence to want to be able to do so. And so learning the soft skills, what Dale talked about, no one really teaches this to you. But here, coming to hear the Incarnate Word, you're learning the soft skills with this program, Adelante. Like, how do you talk to people? You can't learn that in a book. You cannot learn how to be caring And Brene Brown, she's an amazing sociologist. She talks about you can't hate when you lean in, because once you lean in, everybody's one. Dr. Arturo earlier today mentioned the fact about how the sisters came to Incarnate Word, or came to San Antonio with believing what the Incarnate Word is, right? It's a word made flesh, the word that everybody has a little piece of God in them, right? So that's what keeps us going, right? Because we see the God that's in you, and we are make one humanity. So it's very hard to move away from that. So as we have our legacies, as we have our stewardship, we also have this mentorship and formation. And you can see by both of my other colleagues who came in and talked, we are all about a formation of intelligent global citizens of the world to be able to be out there leading, innovating, educating others. That is our job here at University of Incarnate Word, to provide these services for you. And I have gotten back into the done service learning as well. So my background is I was here, I was pre-med biology. I was that imposter syndrome, didn't think I can do it. Went to Beaumont, Texas for a year, worked in HIV AIDS clinic. I was one of the domestic Peace Corps back then. It was called Volunteers in Service to America. There I was able to meet really great mentors. And in every pathway in my life, I've really had great mentors. So it's so important for you to go look for them. Even as an old 50-year-old woman, I'm younger than you by maybe 6 months, but even as a 50-year-old woman, it's so important to have that mentor, that coach to help guide you in your career, in your relationships, in your life. And being able to find that and show that, okay, what do I need to go forward? I came to doing work for Quixotes of San Antonio in 2001. After I went to UT Health Science Center for my medical, and I became an OBGYN. And as my intern year of my residency, I wanted to give back. And I found that by going into the area of Oaxaca, Mexico, we were able to see and be able to provide the healing ministry of Jesus Christ. And just as the sisters came here, we went to another country as well to be able to provide that care. Decades later, or a decade later, we involved all the health professional schools that were coming along, the optometry, the pharmacy. And as more schools opened up in the health professional schools, they too came along. And our private doctors, our private nurses that work in the community were able to engage with students, being able to be mentors for them and be able to teach them what it is to be that global citizen, what it is to be that global health professional to make their lives better. But I don't want to tell y'all the story through my eyes. I want you to see the story through others' eyes. In our presentation, it's all online. It's very hard to herd health professional students in one area. So I did a video for us. And we're starting from someone from the high school, from Incarnate Word High School, all the way to someone who's still with UIW through Communicare doing a family medicine residency. And everyone will talk to you about their experience on their trip. So without further ado, we can go ahead and start the video. Hello, this is Dr. Leticia Vargas, current president of Quixotes of San Antonio. Quixotes of San Antonio was established in 1989 under the direction of Dr. Hugo Castañeda, Dr. Carlos Orozco, the assistance of Dr. Ricardo Riojas, and the assistance of RN Yolanda Perez. This initially started with physician leadership, Santa Rosa administration, and Rotarians getting together and answering the call of the Sisters of the Incarnate Word in Mexico City to provide medical health care to the most needy in the area. They grew Quixotes from 7 people to now 90 people attended this past year. Under the direction of late Dr. Roberto San Martin, and with assistance of Jim Stoltz, PharmD, we were able to incorporate and go to a next level of including the health professional schools, starting with the pharmacy and optometry programs. We have now extended this opportunity to all the health professional schools and have also throughout the years included the health family medicine residency programs. in both Crystal Santa Rosa and this year CommuniCare. With the help of all, we're able to achieve a family providing medical education, health opportunities, and experiences for all involved, and be able to provide appropriate medical care to the people of Oaxaca.
Hi, I'm Eliana Walk. I'm a junior at St. Anthony Catholic High School, and I was recently given the opportunity to travel with UIW on the Quixotes Health Mission to Oaxaca. This has been one of the most rewarding experiences that I've ever had. I've worked as a translator, mostly for the physical therapy department, but I made my rounds, got to see different areas of healthcare, and it was just so much fun, not only because I got to travel and go to Mexico, but also being able to speak to patients, learn about their daily lives, their experiences, how to help them, how to see them overcome their pain, and seeing the anxiety in their eyes dissipate when I spoke to them in a language that they understood was just something that was so rewarding, and I never want to forget that feeling. I'm so honored to have been invited by Dr. Walk.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Lakey. I'm a year 3 physical therapy student at the University of Incarnate Word School of Rehabilitation Sciences, and my advisor is Dr. Matthew Walk. I chose the Quixotes mission because I saw it as an opportunity to go down to Mexico and help the underserved community there in Oaxaca. And what I got from the mission was the ability to just meet and engage with a lot of people that were just genuinely kind and good people that were needing health care in some form or another. And I had the ability to not only help those people as patients, but also to mentor some of the students from the Mexican PT school down there in Oaxaca as well, which helped actually kind of develop me a little bit more as a clinician, being able to explain what I'm doing to other students and kind of try to walk through that. And I hope that I was able to portray UIW's mission of spreading the healing ministry through my actions there. I can't really say for sure I did that, but I feel like I did, and I did my best to do that. So I feel like it was a great opportunity. It was a great chance to meet a lot of great people, and I'm glad that I did it.
Hi, my name is Cassandra Milan. I'm a 4th-year medical student at UIW SOM. This past summer, I had the opportunity to participate with the Quixotes group for a medical mission trip in Oaxaca, Mexico, alongside our faculty advisors, Dr. Vargas and Dr. Fajardo. I first learned about Quixotes while trying to discover ways to become more immersed in global health initiatives, and when I learned of the commitment and care that the Quixotes group has for the communities that they serve, I immediately became excited to join the mission. And the experience in Oaxaca was extremely fulfilling. It was incredible. We were able to develop genuine connections to the Oaxacan community, and the experience strengthened my personal dedication towards serving patients in underserved areas in my career moving forward. Throughout the Quixotes mission trip, our efforts to provide compassionate patient care and interprofessional collaboration among several departments aligned really well with UIW's healing ministry and made me feel incredibly grateful for the experience overall.
Hi everyone, my name is Michaela Hernandez. I'm a senior at the University of Incarnate Word. I found myself deeply inspired by the work of the Quixotes mission. Under the guidance of Erlinda Lopez Rodriguez, I took on a vital role in leading the interprofessional exchange among various specialists involved in this initiative. I was drawn to the Quixotes mission because its goals resonated with my own aspirations. I believed in the importance of increasing outreach to those with limited access to healthcare. The mission's commitment to providing free medical services and educating the people of Oaxaca about their health aligned perfectly with my desires to make a difference. During my time on the mission, I was able to create meaningful impact in the lives of the residents of Oaxaca. This experience not only enriched my understanding of healthcare, but also contributed significantly to my education and professional development. Throughout my journey, I embodied the mission of UIW by demonstrating a profound understanding of the interconnection between health, wellness, and the quality of life. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mindy Hong, and I'm a 4th-year medical student at the University of Incarnate Word School of Osteopathic Medicine. My faculty advisors were Dr. Vargas and Dr. Fajardo, and I mostly served in the gynecology clinic since I am interested in specializing in obstetrics and gynecology, but I also collaborated alongside an emergency medicine physician, family medicine resident, and students from the schools of physical therapy, optometry, pharmacy, nursing, and community health. I chose Quijotes because one of my close friends and classmates introduced it to me, but I'm also passionate about global health. Having previously served on medical missions in Nicaragua and Guatemala, I saw Quijotes as another opportunity to serve on a larger scale and to work interprofessionally alongside other UIW students. Through this experience, I feel I embodied UIW's mission of spreading the healing ministry by providing compassionate care, listening with empathy, and adapting to the cultural and social needs of each patient. It reinforced my commitment to service and patient-centered care.
Hello, my name is Dr. Rostin Chase, and I'm a family medicine resident at CommuniCare associated with UIW. I joined the Quijotes mission knowing that my job extended beyond the walls of my clinic, and I wanted to give back to a global community that had inspired both my wife and I. At the expense of sounding a little bit contrived, the entire trip was a life-changing experience. Throughout the mission, I was able to provide medical services for others in a community-based, holistic setting. And I was surrounded by professionals, like-minded professionals who brought their own unique sets of skills to the table. In doing so, I really felt like I made friendships that'll last a lifetime. And although I was challenged at some points by the disease processes that I saw, I was continuously inspired by the resilience and spirit of the people of Oaxaca. And I really wanted to thank everyone so much for everything that they brought and for the incredible opportunity that I had working there. Thank you.
My name is Sister Teresa Stanley. I'm a Sister of Charity of the Incarnate Word. My role in Oaxaca was prayer leader, spiritual resource, and helper. I went to Oaxaca 3 years before COVID, and then this past September. I was privileged to be one of 90 volunteers carrying out this awesome mission of bringing the healing ministry to about 500 underserved people a day. This is living and being mission. Witnessing the teamwork, the generosity, the professionalism touched my heart. I could not be more proud as a Sister of Charity of the Incarnate Word to witness this self-giving by students, faculty, and all involved. It was truly living our founding story. Our Lord Jesus Christ suffering in the person of the sick and infirm of every kind seeks relief at your hands.
Shameless plug for y'all to go to health professional schools. So thank you. I would like to thank Marisol Salas, who helped put that together from Incarnate Word School of Medicine. And I'd like to have Dr. Fajardo, soon to be Dr. Theo, come up here. And if y'all have any questions for us.
You know, I do have a question. I have the microphone, so I'll just take advantage of that if y'all don't mind. You know, just thank you all so much. You know, not only for presenting here, but for being leaders on campus that are, you know, advancing these great community service missions that I think just they're at the heart of what UIW is. You know, based on my brief time of 5 years at UIW. I just see that your work embodies just who we are. So thank you. The question that I have is, you know, I know that your own cultural backgrounds have helped you perform the service that you do and to lead the service missions that you do. But I also know from talking to you all that that the service that you've performed has also helped to connect you with your heritage and to fit in again here back in our community in San Antonio. So I guess that's my question is how has your own heritage and understanding of heritage helped you perform the service, and how has the performance of the service helped you to strengthen your own cultural identity and be confident in who you are and to value that heritage?
All right. I would say that for myself, I think I mentioned I'm Salvadoreño y Hondureño, and many of the people that we work with down at the Valley are Mexicano, Nicaragüense. They're from everywhere. Me taking students that are from different political backgrounds, different age groups. The biggest thing I love to see is watching the transformation throughout the week of them finding out that personally, we are not a nuisance. We are not something that's an economic hindrance. We are not those types of things, because I know the communities that I come from. Though I came from a place that was lower socioeconomic from a monetary standpoint, there were so many things culturally rich and communal that our students get to experience. Some of them get to experience for the very first time. And so when they see that and they feel a hug from one of them, obviously in a school presence, you can't really hug students and all that stuff or whatever. But when they get there, some of them need that. And they see that and they're getting it from someone who doesn't even speak the language. They're using someone else as an intermediary from an English to Spanish standpoint, but from a body language and love and care, they know when they leave 5 days later, these individuals truly cared for us and loved us, and I don't want to leave. And I think to myself, that's such a pride thing for myself, because some of them on the staff are Central American and they see like, wow, I just met this lady on Monday or Sunday, and I got her number, I have her email, I can call, she's sending things. And for me, that's incredibly enriching, because it dignifies the community. It dignifies people that are from El Salvador, Honduras, wherever it is that you're from. And in a place where sometimes here in San Antonio, yes, we're in a predominantly Spanish community, like 64% or so. But here at UIW, we see it from a student population base, but they don't really see it from a faculty base or higher executives or stuff like that. They see a different lens. So for them to feel seen, understood, or get to know the other is incredibly fulfilling to me. And to do it year after year and see it every time, it's like a parent watching their kid walk over and over again for something that I feel attached to and a part of. So it makes me feel pretty good.
Yes. Good thing I can project my voice. Okay, so as the child of, as the only one born outside of Colombia in my family tree, being raised in Texas in the 1970s, and where my mom would say, and I didn't really notice because I was so young, but speaking Spanish, going to the store was really frowned upon. And they had moved around a lot, and it was nicer here in San Antonio than it was in New Orleans. She said it was pretty awful at the time in New Orleans. But I was asked all those questions. Do I have marijuana? Do I have cocaine? Why would I ever travel to that country? And do you even have paper towels in that country? And the one thing I wanted to do was run as far away from that as possible when I was a little kid. And I did. So I tried to assimilate. And the work I've done, just growing up as well, made me realize that I didn't need to do that. And that it gave me more pride in two levels. One, as a general, being Hispanic, being Latino. And then secondly, as being Colombian. And so the work that I do and the ultimate payoff for me was the inspiration to continue that work. But how do you always do it across the pond? How do I do it here at home? Because here at home, there's always as many problems in your backyard as there are across the pond. And so you have to be really considerate about that, or the balance of things. And so the one thing at the level is with the free clinic and everything else is my pride in my heritage. And that heritage is just Latino. And how can I give back to a community when I'm so blessed in my position? And then at the next level is, how can I do that for my Colombian community? And so it really lit a fire in me. I never volunteered for anything in my entire life before that. And that was 20 years ago. And now that's the only thing I care about. And the only thing I try to inspire my students into is be part of a community, be part of something, make a difference, and realize how blessed you are. And it's your duty to do this.
So this is going to sound a little bit strange and contrived, but really isn't. I grew up in Von Army, Texas, and in Von Army, there were just country folk, right? And so we were a whole bunch of first generation people, and there was a whole bunch of German that were first generation kids, and Belgium that were first generation kids. And so I really didn't know I was Hispanic until I came to college. I mean, it's because it was never a big deal. It was never pointed out because we were just we're all poor, so we just hung out. That's the college kids. We went to country corner for the bull riding and whatever, and country music and so forth. So I totally grew up something completely different. But I feel like it was full circle when I realized, oh, I am different in a way. But at the same time, I was able to see things from a different lens. And so because of that, positively for me, I've never felt out because I was Hispanic. I've never had doors closed because I was Hispanic, nor because I was a woman. I have had doors closed and people being prejudiced because of my size. Completely different. But as being a Latina woman, now I live in San Antonio. So that could be a factor too, because if I would be outside of San Antonio, it would be a different place. But I feel like it's full circle for me because it was a medical missionary crew that took my mom out of poverty, more poverty, took her out of domestic violence, and me going back into the community and be able to do so. And I've always practiced medicine in underserved areas south of Hildebrand. And I remember those days of medical school where it was the crying like waterworks. Oh God, I'm Virgin Mary, I promise you all this stuff. And one of the promises I made is that I will always work with the needy. And I've fortunately been able to do that because that's where my place is, because I need to be a voice to others who are dreamers, who want to be where we are. And they have to see themselves in me and say, well, she did it, maybe I can do it. And I think that's part of my duty and my legacy to continue to do that.
Thank you so much. We're out of time. So Leticia, thank you for the great moderation. Thank you, Roberto, Teo, and Leti. Let's give them one more round of applause. And I do want to encourage everyone to please come back. We've got 4 more great sessions tomorrow and on Thursday to talk about some of the work that we're doing in the classroom here, some of the student clubs that help you connect with Hispanic heritage, and also some of the way that Hispanic heritage lives in our staff and administration. So thank you all for being here. Really appreciate y'all, and have a fantastic rest of the afternoon.
Take some bread out in front.
Just